Are shiny Pokemon desired because they have cool unique colors, or because they're rare? With the increased rates for shiny Pokemon in recent games, a far cry of the days of old, it's a question I've seen more people discuss, with some saying that shiny Pokemon are now too easy to get your hands on. But if cooking up some Herba Mystica is already too easy, what about the Pokemon we've seen over the course of the series that are guaranteed to be shiny? There are hardly enough to fill an entire shiny dex with, but it is interesting to look back at this phenomenon and see how it has slowly changed from being exceptionally rare to being a reward Game Freak knows will excite players and keep them hooked. So we are gonna take a look at every single guaranteed shiny Pokemon in history, and also rate them based on how hard they are to obtain. Are they worth the effort? Let's find out. And we begin with easily the most well-known guaranteed shiny Pokemon of them all, if not just the most famous shiny Pokemon in general as a result. The Red Gyarados of the Lake of Rage, found in Pokemon Gold, Silver, Crystal and their remakes, was many people's first introduction to the concept of shiny Pokemon, and was undoubtedly introduced exactly for that purpose. Shiny Pokemon were new in Gen 2, but also incredibly rare, so in order to incentivize you to actually want to hunt for them and well, just know they exist, Game Freak did what any good dealer does and gave you a freebie in the hope you'd get hooked. The Red Gyarados is also story relevant, being the result of Team Rocket's radio broadcast speeding up its evolution, explaining why there's suddenly this random Gyarados out in the wild. Interestingly enough, the anime saga that covers this story beat mentions Gyarados is red as a result of Team Rocket's interference, but that is not canon to the games and that's probably for the best. Would have opened a whole new can of worms, that's for sure. This event would also later get referenced in several other games. Fire Red and Leaf Green would retroactively add that Team Rocket is looking into electromagnetic waves that can speed up evolution. Diamond and Pearl open with a news broadcast about the Red Gyarados and is actually the instigator for sending you and Barry to the nearby lake in the hopes of finding another, and in the Alola games, Lana jokes she once reeled in a Red Gyarados. But to get back on track, in terms of difficulty, on a scale of 1 to 10, it seems pretty obvious to me that Gyarados has to be 1. I mean, it's unmissable, it's story related, and you genuinely cannot finish a Johto game without having the opportunity to catch this shiny Pokemon. As long as you save beforehand, you're guaranteed to catch it, and it's not like it's so ridiculously strong that you can have serious problems with weakening it. For the longest time, if you never had a shiny Pokemon and you were desperate to get one without RNG shenanigans, this is the one you should get. If you could stomach the prices Hard Gold and Soul Silver go for, that is. Before you move on to the next guaranteed shiny Pokemon, I do want to quickly mention an opportunity from Gen 2 that is halfway there to being a guaranteed shiny. Literally, because in the Japanese version of Crystal only, the odd egg has a 50% chance of hatching a shiny baby Pokemon. In the Western releases of the game, the percentage is 14%, which is still significantly high, but definitely not in the realm of guaranteed. If you're wondering why there's such a difference in these percentages, the reason for that is that in Japan, the odd egg is actually an event item that can only be obtained using the egg ticket, which was distributed via a paid online service available for the Game Boy in Japan. In the West, the odd egg is a handout that's available in every playthrough, given out by the daycare man. It's because of this reason that the Japanese Virtual Console version of Crystal on 3DS also does not have the odd egg available, since the Game Boy online services weren't, of course. Anyway, let's get back to shiny Pokemon you can still get, which sees us skip right past Gen 3 and 4, since they completely lacked any, and lands us in Unova. Pokemon Black and White 2 have a massive total of 3 guaranteed shiny Pokemon, although 2 of them are version exclusive. By defeating Benga, Alder's grandson, at the end of Black Tower or White Tree Hollow, you will receive respectively a shiny Gible or Dratini for your troubles. They're incredibly cool Pokemon to get shinies off, I think that's fair to say. Everyone loves pseudo-legendaries, right? Even if their shiny colorations can be a little, let's call it subtle. Both are also holding an EXP share, which is a really nice addition to add some further value to the package, so that this is a great reward goes without saying. The question that remains is, how hard is it? Well, that depends a bit. You'll definitely need Pokemon at decently high levels. Bengas are level 80 and include legendaries like Latias and Latios and its powerful ace Volcarona. Gen 5 doesn't have EXP candies, and I doubt you'll have Pokemon near those levels when you first beat Iris, so you'll definitely need to do some post-game grinding in order to get near Benga. But once you're in the right level space, beating him really isn't that hard. It's nowhere near your average Battle Tower or Battle Frontier in terms of difficulty, I'd say. So yeah, it's more of a large time investment than it is necessarily difficult, so I think I'm gonna give this one a 6 out of 10. The third guaranteed shiny of these games is available in both versions, and it's another dragon type, being a shiny Haxorus. This Pokemon is an overworld encounter in the Nature Preserve, which is only accessible after you have seen every single Pokemon in the Unova Dex as it appears in Black or White 2. Now, that doesn't sound too hard. Several games reward the National Dex for this little endeavor, and I'm willing to bet most of you were able to obtain those. However, in the year 2025, obtaining this shiny Haxorus has become significantly more difficult. Because unlike those other games that reward you with the National Dex, you actually cannot see every single Pokemon in the Unova Dex in one cartridge. Rufflet and Skitty do not appear anywhere in Black 2, and the same thing goes for Vullaby and Baneri in White 2, as well as the first and third stage starter Pokemon yours is super effective to. In order to get those seen in your decks, you'll need to trade them, and that has become significantly more difficult now with the shutdown of the DS online capabilities and just generally needing another copy of a Gen 5 game. It's not impossible, this can still be done, and depending on what you have access to, it could be more of an inconvenience rather than an actual problem. That makes rating it a little hard, but I think that on average this is a solid 7. We continue our journey through the series onto the 3DS, where the appearance rate of shiny Pokemon would not only start to go up in the wild, but we'd also see an influx of event Pokemon that were guaranteed to be shiny. A famous example is the shiny Beldum from Oras, but since none of these are currently still available, talking about them all would just be a huge waste of time. I mean, sure, it's interesting that South Korea's pre-order bonus for Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire was a shiny Gengar, but what can you do with that information now? The same goes for another phenomenon that appeared on the Nintendo Switch, guaranteed shiny raids. A shiny Zeraora was handed out following a worldwide raid event in Pokemon Sword and Shield, and not too long ago, shiny Rayquaza became available through Terra raid battles for a limited time in Scarlet and Violet. But again, all these opportunities have passed, so if you didn't get them then, you're fat out of luck. But that same thing cannot be said for Legends Arceus, which brought guaranteed shiny Pokemon back after a long absence. The quest A Peculiar Ponyta will ask you to investigate a peculiar Ponyta in the Obsidian Fieldlands, and you probably know where this is going, it is guaranteed to be shiny. It took more than 20 years, but finally, the red Gyarados has been dethroned as the easiest shiny Pokemon to obtain. Not only is the shiny Ponyta just generally way easier to catch, just throw a Pokeball at the thing and it's quite likely to stick, it also appears much earlier in the game than Gyarados did. All you have to do is calm down the Noble Cleavor and then the quest will be available. I haven't clocked it, but I'm pretty sure you can get this shiny Ponyta when you're not even 10 hours into the game. That is ridiculously fast. So yeah, if this isn't a 1 out of 10, I don't know what is. We wouldn't have to wait literal decades again for the next guaranteed shiny Pokemon, because the very next game in the series, Scarlet and Violet, would have 2 up for grabs if you purchased the DLC pack, The Hidden Treasure of Area Zero. Both Kitakami and the Blueberry Academy have 1 each, and while they're both meant to be these end-game level rewards, I would say there is a bit of a gap in difficulty between the two. First was the Teal Mask shiny, which is a shiny Munchlax. It is also guaranteed to have the crafty mark and is also the biggest boy he can be. He will be handed to you once you manage to complete the Ogre Austin minigame at the hard difficulty, which doesn't sound super hard, but depending on the circumstances of when and how you tried this, it very well might be. Doing this solo when the Teal Mask first released was seriously hard. Not only did you need to actually be really good at this minigame, you also needed a fat dose of luck with spawns and lurking Pokemon trying to get your stash. If this was the only way the Munchlax would be available, I'd say its difficulty rating was a 10 here. That's how hard it was. It felt borderline impossible. However, if you had access to Nintendo Switch Online and either friends to play this with or the capability to find strangers online, it got significantly easier. Now, you would probably still need a whole bunch of tries, especially if you had trouble coordinating with your fellow players, but at least it could now feasibly be done. I'd say this lowered the difficulty by about a point, so we're at 9 out of 10 now. But then, with the release of the Indigo disc, this minigame was made easier by decreasing the number of Pokemon that would appear. And if you were to go for Munchlax now, after watching this video, that is the situation you would find yourself in. All in all, I'd say that even today, beating hard by yourself is still incredibly hard. Still at a 9 out of 10 for me. But with 3 other players, especially ones you can communicate with, I'd say it has dropped down to a 6 or 7 out of 10. If all 4 of you know what you're doing, I doubt you need more than a few tries nowadays to beat hard, so I think that rating is about fair. But like I said, mind the gap, because obtaining the shiny Blitzel from the Indigo disc is quite a bit easier. All you need to do is invite Director Serrano to your League Club room and defeat him in a battle. Now, first you must have bought the option to invite him from the support board, which is only available after unlocking all 20 other special coaches. Even though this does cost a large total of BP, I'd still say it pales in comparison to the Munchlax, and is done more or less effortlessly by just playing the DLC and obtaining BP through naturally playing. I personally didn't have to grind or go through any hoops to get this Blitzel at least. I very much cannot say the same for Munchlax. I give it a 3 out of 10, that seems fair. It does require some game time still, of course. Despite us not having received any new Pokemon games since Scarlet and Violet, the number of guaranteed shiny Pokemon actually has gone up since the end of the DLC. In October 2024, Pokemon Home received an update that added a reward for completing all 3 Scarlet and Violet dexes in the storage app. So having completed the dexes of Paldea, Kitakami and the Blueberry Academy in-game isn't enough. You have to transfer all these Pokemon caught in these regions to Pokemon Home, and then and only then will you receive a shiny Meloetta. Very exclusive shiny, extremely rare, so that's super cool, but man, this is a mountain of a time investment. I wouldn't say it's difficult per se, but it's definitely a project that will eat up a ton of your Pokemon hours. Plus, doing it without a home subscription is borderline mental torture, so if you're serious about it, you'll definitely want to get the subscription for at least a month to move everything over nice and quickly. A few months later, in January 2025, similar rewards were also rolled out for the other Switch Pokemon games. For completing the home dex of BDSP, you'd get a shiny Manaphy, for Legends Arceus a shiny Enamorus, for Let's Go a shiny Meltan, and for Sword and Shield a shiny Keldeo. Again, all super exclusive and rare shiny Pokemon, but you're looking at a huge time investment to get them all. In terms of difficulty, I'd say Meltan is definitely the easiest, to the point I must rate it like a 6 out of 10. As long as you can trade, it's no biggie. BDSP is a little more difficult, but it's not like that dex is super massive either, so I'll give Manaphy a 7 out of 10. Legends Arceus has a lot more Pokemon to collect, but it has every mon available on one cartridge, so that kinda balances out, so let's put Enamorus at 7 out of 10 as well. Keldeo and Meloetta though, they both require 3 full dexes, 2 of which you need access to the DLC for to fill up without a nightmare amount of trading, so these 2 I would definitely put at 8 out of 10 at minimum, maybe even 9 out of 10 if you've never even completed the in-game dexes. Based on recent developments, I would expect the upcoming Legends EA to increase this list further. Even if we don't get any guaranteed shinies in-game, like the past 2 Pokemon games have done, we will most certainly at least get a new reward for completing the Lumio City dex in Pokemon Home, which will probably reward us with like a shiny Volcanion or Hoopa or some new legendary Pokemon maybe. All I can say is, I hope they never give out a shiny reward for completing the Home dex for Pokemon Go. That's a challenge that will go far beyond what a 1 to 10 scale can rate. Anyway, which of these guaranteed shiny Pokemon do you own? And do you even consider them actual shiny Pokemon, or do you look down on them a little? Share it in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a like and subscribe to the channel to stay updated on all my future Pokemon content coming up. For now, thanks for watching and enjoy the rest of your day.